Unit 1, Listening, Part 4. 1.
You know, it's funny because when I was a kid, I was never really aware of just what an extraordinary woman my Aunt Patty is. I mean, she's always lived in the same town as us, but she was always away working, so I didn't really see too much of her, to tell the truth. Not till much later, that is, when she invited me to come out on one of her trips. I guess I must have been 14 or 15 by then, probably. And it was a real eye-opener to see her at work. I mean, she was doing what many people think is a man's job. She'd be out in all weathers, even in these really mountainous seas. But, you know, she never used to panic. She just got on with the job, whatever the danger. She seemed to know just what to do, even when things got really rough. She was just totally in her element, and she impressed me no end.
2.
For my dad, nothing was too much trouble, especially when people showed a bit of interest in what he was up to. You know, when he was working, he's retired now, well, more or less anyway, he'd be digging away at some excavation or other, and members of the public, visitors, would just come up to him and start talking to him, and he'd drop whatever he was doing and, you know, even if he was tired because he'd been working all day, he'd probably give them a tour of the site and a free lecture on top of that. Personally, I wouldn't have that sort of patience. I'm more like my mum in that way.
3.
Yeah, my brother's a real perfectionist too. You know, he's been getting this new show ready recently, and he's been going to incredible lengths to get this new trick right. Yeah, right, yeah. Like, he's been practising and practising in front of this video camera he's got for weeks, it seems. Oh, it's been driving the rest of us mad. Yeah. You see, he plays it back afterwards, the camera I mean, to check you can't see how it's done from any angle. He just wants to hoodwink absolutely everyone in the audience, even though they're usually only just kids. So he goes on and on till he's got everything absolutely perfect.
4.
Ivan was really one of my dad's mates, but as he was single and a really good friend of Dad's, we counted him as one of the family. And he was incredibly generous with us kids. Always came back with some unusual gift or other from his trips. And then he'd sit down with us and help us do our schoolwork and so on. We loved him. And we loved his stories of his underwater adventures and the strange creatures he'd seen. He made it sound as if he'd been doing something extremely dangerous and he'd been incredibly brave. Or tremendously exaggerated, no doubt. But we lapped it all up.
5.
Margot was one of my mother's cousins, actually. Personally, I never got to know her well because she was always travelling here and there. She had so many engagements. I have got a few of her recordings from her younger days, though. The sound quality's not too good now because we've listened to them so many times, but I think her playing really does reflect her optimism and joy. You just wouldn't suspect that she was going blind at the time. What courage in the face of such an affliction, don't you think?